I've been reading some articles. This book in particular, this is a for-profit company that Tony Ulrich runs called Strategen, but he puts out a ton of free information, plenty to get you started. And there's a couple resources that I will point to as we go through this presentation. I also wander a lot, so I might end up down with you. Don't be afraid. So the idea of a jobs to be done theory is that our customers are trying to get something done, and we need to isolate that, not in terms of what we have to offer them, but really what they're doing and how we break that down. There's this overall job to be done, and then it has many steps under it, and how can our products and services help them get that job done better, faster, more completely. It's typically been used in product development, so what I want to talk about is, can we use this in the social sector? And why is this important to innovation? That's the other part of this presentation. We now know we've had innovation programs in corp companies and libraries. Do any of you have an innovation process, idea management, working with that? So Sno-Isle has been doing this since 2014, and we've come a long way. And I say that even though we've done a lot and our employees value it, the management perception is probably true to this. We're kind of dissatisfied with our innovation performance. Is it really disrupting our thinking? Is it really getting us out there in different ways? I think we're still doing a lot of similar things. We've fixed a lot of low-hanging fruit from frontline staff, but I don't think we're getting closer to customer need through our innovation process. And I think that's what companies are experiencing too. So we're kind of ambivalent. We're starting to get ambivalent about innovation, I think. Oh yeah, that's a thing, we do that. We have sometimes, but it's not really working. Why isn't it working? It should work. It doesn't make any sense. We know more about our customers than we have ever known before. We have tons of data. How many of you are using data and looking at how you're providing services, how you're measuring up? Yeah, and how many of you also have introduced outcomes data? So looking at quality from a customer perspective. I talked to somebody back there too, yeah, right. What if we put that in a different place in our process, is what we're gonna talk about. So it's still not working, even though we have this data. In a public library setting, we make a point of talking about how the services we provide contribute to community impact. We make a point of saying that we're not causal. I think that perhaps this jobs to be done theory can push us towards causal. And I think that's really important. We've been complacent and comfortable with correlation and contribution. I think if we can get closer to understanding the jobs that our customers are trying to do, and we can know that we are helping them do that better, we can claim a causal relationship to community impact. That's the other reason why I got excited about this, right? Can we push ourselves a little bit further? Does anyone get this joke? Okay, takes a minute, right? Maybe? And I think a lot of what I'm talking about today is a maybe, but we have to just start practicing it and see if we can get there and make something concrete. So one of the concepts in jobs to be done theory is that we are hiring a thing to do our job. And I like this idea when you think about hiring something. So when I go to mow my lawn, first of all, my job isn't to mow the lawn. What do you think my job is? Anyone have any ideas?
Have a nice looking lawn?
Yes. I want to have a beautiful presentation to people visiting my house. I also don't like stepping on the long grass. It gets in my toes and I don't like that. So there's also that. So when I break that down though, one of the aspects of getting that job done is mowing the lawn, right? I need to hire a lawnmower. It's gonna be my daughter, my 12-year-old, with a push mower, because I don't like gas and electricity and all that stuff. And she needs to, she can do it. It's a small oval of lawn. So I'm actually gonna hire her, and she's gonna hire the lawnmower to push across that. So we think about in terms of hiring something to do the job. What are people hiring us to do? Are they hiring our website? No. Are they hiring our search feature? Are you sure? I don't know. We need to think about that. If they're trying to find something, they're going to hire what we're offering them to do that. Is that really working? I think we know in some cases it's not. They've hired our search engine and it fails them. And that's really important to think about, because if it doesn't work, we fire people that don't work, right? When we're hiring a person, we get rid of the people that don't work. And hopefully we try to develop them and give them a chance first. But when we talk about products, we put that thing down and we don't do it again. Does that make sense? So when I'm eating, I have, there's different jobs even about eating. Think about this in terms of outcomes. I have a nutrition, I want to maintain a healthy body and get nutrition. That's one job. Another job is that I'm kind of sad and I'm having a hard day and I want to feel better. Okay, and one of those, I'm going to hire some food to put in me so I can keep going. In another case, I'm going to hire that food to comfort me and make me feel better. So there's social, emotional, as well as practical and functional aspects to when we're trying to get jobs done. That's kind of an example of that. And again, if it's not meeting our needs, if it's not filling our needs in any way, we're not going to go back there. So how many of you have eaten somewhere and you're like, that was terrible, I'm never going back? Yeah. How many of you have used a library service or product and said, oh, that was terrible, I'm never going back? Be honest. I have. Yeah. So how do we get past that? How do we provide better hiring from the beginning? Here's an example. I've been thinking about facilities a lot lately, so this example spoke to me. Anyone in here working on facilities projects or have something going on? So I mean, this might ring true to you too. There was a city and they were overbuilt in condominiums. But they're the target audience of this one condominium complex was older people who are downsizing, okay? So they want to bring in retired people, kind of an older community. And they did everything like they've always done, and they'd always been very, very successful. But this overbuilding created an issue for them, and they were not selling condominiums the way they thought they could, or the way they had in the past. So they started talking to their customers, and they talked to potential customers, and potential customers talked about how they wanted a second bedroom, and they wanted a little nook, a breakfast nook, and they described what they wanted. And nowhere in there did they talk about a dining room table. But then they were talking to actual customers, people who had bought the condos. And this concept of dining room table kept coming up in their conversations with these buyers. All different demographics. You know, there wasn't any other thing except this concept of dining room table. What was so important about this? And so the project manager went home, and I think it was a birthday party. It may have been a holiday or maybe a family birthday party, and he's been thinking about what's up with this dining room table thing. And he sat down at his dining room table, and he said, oh, this isn't about the dining room table. This is about what it represents. It represents family. I am selling, these people are not buying a downsized space. The job they're trying to get done is to move their life. How am I going to do this? So what they did is they thought about this concept, and they made the second bedroom smaller because it wasn't as important with actual buyers. It was important potential buyers, right? But the actual buyers didn't care as much. The architect redesigned the space and made room for a dining room table in the dining area. And then this moving life concept. Remember, their target audience is people who are downsizing. They started offering a service where there was free storage for 2 years as part of their condo contract. And they built a sorting room in the complex where people could take their boxes out and process their belongings and decide what to get rid of and what to keep and things like that. They gave them time to move their life. That was the job they were trying to get done, and they gave them a service that met it, and then they filled their buildings. before their competitors did. Okay, so they disrupted the typical sales process of a condominium. I think that's what we want to do too. So, can we do it? I want to tell you, so this is social sector for a reason and not libraries. Because I like to start there. I like to think, well, what are other people in our space, which not just the library space, but in the space of providing services doing? And I Googled, literally, jobs to be done theory, social sector, and I got this, which I think is interesting. I don't know why, this is not a lot of this is social sector, but I don't know if you can see this, so I'll walk you through it. I'm gonna fall off of this thing. Basically, someone took some jobs to be done and talked about solutions, and that there were old solutions to doing these jobs, and then new, innovative solutions that were doing a better job of meeting the need or the job to be done. So for example, to ingest medicine, old solution, lots of pills and shots. New solution, there's skin patches. Even we can get flu shots through our nose. Has anyone done that? It's so weird, but yeah. Detecting an enemy at night, we used to use flares. Now we have night vision. Cleaning our teeth, we scrubbed those things, made our gums really unhappy, and now we have automated sound waves that clean our teeth. The last thing on that list, job to be done, search for information. Old solution, library. New solution, internet. Does that scare anybody? It's kind of, yeah. Can we disrupt that? I think that's the question that I'm thinking about a lot today. Are we even able to do this? It will be disruptive because just like project planning, it's talking about putting a whole lot more effort into the front end of our service design, and that rather than later on in the process. And that's a kind of a shift for the way we think. It's kind of a shift in the way we do our work. Let's see. So, and there's a little story about disruption and innovation that I want to tell you from a different industry too. So often the original job that a company is meeting is a job to be done. It's meeting customer needs. They've done that, they've thought of that, and they're filling a service gap or creating a new industry. And we think, yeah, great. And then we really are doing jobs to be done until we start applying logic and we start thinking, oh, these customers have other jobs to be done. And in a for-profit world, they think maybe we can make more money if we offer products that help them do other jobs in their life, right? And I think libraries do this too. Ooh, we're losing relevancy. Maybe we need to do something else that customers need from us. Maybe we need to loan cake pans, or maybe we need to do a different type of programming, or maybe we need to fill in the blank. And then what's happening over time as we do that, well, let's look at newspapers. So the New York Times kind of started when people had there was a thing called the Tube. It was a 45-minute commute into this city. And the job to be done there was, hey, I've got 45 minutes in my life and I need to stay productive. And they could pick up a newspaper and read it on the Tube. And over time, Metro came and the commute time got shorter, so there was less time to do that job. Newspapers kind of unwieldy, like you're on a crowded, this is not gonna work. And smartphones became ubiquitous. So the newspapers had an issue there. They got disrupted by a new technology. I think then newspapers are like, what else are customers trying to do? They're trying to get rid of junk, or they wanna buy junk, and they introduced classifieds. Well, what disrupted that? Craigslist, right? Okay, I need a job, or I need to fill a job. I'm gonna have career classifieds. What disrupted that? Pardon? Job board, LinkedIn, Monster, yeah, other things. I need to buy a home. I need to sell a home. We introduced the real estate section of the newspaper. What disrupted that? Redfin, Zillow, exactly. So what's happening to the newspaper as this is going on? Well, it's decreasing in production size, but it's getting a really varied, broad focus. What are all these disruptive companies doing with their focus? They're niching, they're doing one thing and they're doing it very, very well. And it's throwing newspapers into a tizzy and they're going out of business. And I think part of it is because they lost their focus. So how can libraries stay focused? So, by the way, this jobs to be done theory, 1997 was when the first book was written, kind of talking about it. But it certainly didn't start there. This idea has been floating around, and it was Peter Drucker who said ages ago, the customer rarely buys what the company is selling. And I thought about that, and I thought, what do libraries sell? What are libraries selling? Am I missing anything? Does this cover it? We sell ebooks, we sell audiobooks, we sell DVDs, Wi-Fi, public computers, classes. Do we know that we're selling community? Do we sell community? Yeah? Community. Do customers know? Are the customers buying that? We think we're selling it. Is that what they're buying?
A lot of times that's what they're buying.
Yeah?
We don't necessarily think of us speaking on behalf of the school, public, and other libraries that are not the workplace library that I work in. A lot of times that's what communities are buying, even though that's not what they think they're buying.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I use the library all the time for story time for my kid or for workshops on blah 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 blah. Like yes, you're buying community space.
I like that. So she's saying the customers don't know that they're buying community, but that really is what they're there for. And I think, what's their job to be done? Maybe the job to be done is I need to connect to my community. And what are the steps that we can fill? What are how do we break that down for them?
Well, and one thing that I don't see represented there either that would be specific to maybe the private sector libraries or the government libraries, specifically in our case, people are buying expertise.
Great.
And they are explicitly buying expertise, and they know, and if you don't have the expertise, then what are we paying you for? There's a very acute awareness of that.
So she added expertise to the list of things that customers are buying and that we're selling. Thank you. I probably flippantly put that under research from my public library perspective, but absolutely, the expertise. Thank you. All right. So here's a way to approach it. There's 10 steps, and we don't have a whole lot of time left already. So we're going to go through these. But this is what I want you to take away and start thinking, can I do these things in a different way? Can I apply this 10-step process to my innovation, to how I'm getting ideas? And a little bit on that. In the blurb, it says needs first versus ideas first. I want to talk a little bit about that. As a public library system who has created their strategic plan from a community needs analysis and doing a lot of stakeholder conversations and feeling really confident that we are meeting community needs. In fact, we even tie our strategic plan metrics to external metrics, and then try to build that correlation or that contribution in the way we can tell our story with data and anecdote. I'm thinking to myself, I read about needs first versus ideas first, and I'm like, we're totally a needs first organization. This is awesome. And on our innovation platform, where we get ideas from frontline staff, we even ask them about how this idea is going to meet customer needs in a measurable way. And I'm like, yeah, I got this. And the more I read about this process, I realized, nope, I'm wrong. I'm totally wrong. We're still ideas first. And I think you're about to see why, because I think it's like step 7. In this step, we don't even talk about ideation until step 7 in this process. So all this other stuff is putting needs first. So let's walk through it. This is maybe one of the hardest things to do for a public library. We want to do everything for everyone. Is that a sentiment that rings true in other types of libraries as well? Being able to define who their customer is of a service or where you're trying to go with your customer base? I think it can be. I'm seeing some nodding, so I'm going to say yes. So before we can even understand customer needs, we need to agree and come to an understanding of who a customer is. I don't expect you to read this. But for Sno-Isle, we want to target a customer for each of our strategic priorities. And basically, this is a whole bunch of referencing literature and evidence to boil down to in increasing kindergarten readiness and language and literacy in our community. We are looking for low-income children not in care in Island and Snohomish County who are 0 to age 5. Okay, I feel like that's a pretty good customer definition. Okay. Part of defining the customer, though, is knowing where they are. So we use Gale, this is analytics on demand. What this is showing to you, and again, I don't expect you to see all the faceting on the right-hand side there, but what you're seeing here, these red dots, are households in the Snohomish community, which is one of our 23 communities that we serve. This happens to be the one that I live in. I'll show you. This is just for fun. I live by that lake right over there. Everett is the major city in the middle of our service area, but it's not. Its residents don't use our libraries. They have their own city library, separate system. And this is I-5. And there happens to be another Highway 9 that goes along here. So I'm looking at this, non-customers, so these are people who do not have library cards, households that do not have library cards. They are likely to have children. Yes, they have children definitely, or likely to have children in their household. And they are all households that are below, and their income level is below poverty for a family of 4 per our county standard. It's about $75,000 for a family of 4. I think this is getting close to that target audience I defined, probably as close as I can get. They give me mosaics. I'm not going to use those because I think these are probably families that don't have a lot of credit history. They're not shopping a lot. So I'm not sure that's going to help. Pardon? We upload our data from our ILS into their platform, and then we can do these different facets. Gale Analytics, sorry. Yeah, this is Gale Analytics on demand. So when we think about library data, oops, I'm going to go back here. I just want to point out that our Snohomish library is right here. So this cluster of households, I think it's really important, and I want to come back to looking at those at some point, but I'm really worried about this cluster over here, right? Because there is no library anywhere near here, and they're far from any public transportation. So they're not getting to a library either. So I want to learn more about them so that I can look at their needs and define their needs. And this is zoomed in. And when I zoom in, I see that, oh, there is a kind of a neighborhood here. There's some structure. I can look at this entire neighborhood. And then I look at Google Maps, and I look for childcare. Because remember, not in childcare is important to me. And I'm thinking, is this really my target audience? Is there childcare for these families in this neighborhood? And look, there's lots of childcare. Over here, here. And then I go to these childcare sites and look at their rates. Yeah. Guess what? There's no way that a family making less than $75,000 a year is going to any of these childcare centers. These are all very middle class or upper middle class childcare centers. And they are serving a population that lives on the top of this hill that has a beautiful view of the valley. So this is not, so I'm still like, okay, I still can't get to them. They're probably maybe not going to these. How am I going to get closer to defining their needs? And I realized that there's a YMCA right here that they can probably get to without public transportation. So now I need to discover the job that my customers are trying to accomplish, okay? I need to get down to the jobs to be done. How is the best way, how am I going to do this? Yeah, how do I talk to them? They're not my customers, right? They don't have library cards. I don't know how to get them because I can't go to a child care center and reach them. So I looked at that YMCA and I thought I could probably stand outside the YMCA and just talk to people. Why not? I think this is really what we have to be willing to do. It starts around really understanding that jobs can be situational as well. And so I want to talk, why are you here at the Y? What are you trying to do? What's important about being here? And not just understand that functional piece of what they're trying to get done, but learn a little bit about their emotional and social motivations for getting that job done. So, okay, YMCA, I could stand outside of there. Where else can I stand outside? Perhaps grocery stores. I was thinking grocery stores, and I also looked at food banks. So there's food banks on either side of that community. So I can go there and talk to them and start interviewing them and getting an idea of what these jobs are. All right, now we start bringing in getting to those outcomes at the front end instead of an evaluation, the way we've kind of been looking at it in libraries. So the jobs to be done theory proposes creating a job map. And I think one way you get to that is then you've kind of talked to some of your customers. Now we need to get them in a little bit closer and start talking about these jobs and the steps to these jobs and breaking down the steps to those jobs in outcomes for them themselves. So an outcome for mowing the lawn is that I'm happy with the way that it looks. My daughter got some exercise. I mean, video games. I'm not going to know that. These are very personal things, customer perspective about these. I want to bring some people in and have some focus groups. And jobs to be done theory suggests that focus groups really is the right way to do that. And as we're coming out of that, we're trying to take that job and break it down into different steps and then put outcomes for all those steps. The important thing about these outcomes is that we are then going to put them in front of the customers and distinguish our customers based by need, not by demographics. It's different, right? Because we're moving to designing a service or a product based on need, not necessarily based on where that person lives or how much money they make, because at some point there's a set of needs that we're trying to meet. So we can this is a Likert scale, we could just put these outcomes. And what we're trying to figure out is how important is this to the customer? And how satisfied are they already with that? So how many of you it's pretty important to have some downtime in your life to chill out? It's kind of cool. And I'm not gonna say Netflix and chill, but I just I just said it. And how satisfied are you with Netflix? I mean, come on, you use it? Hulu? Hulu, whatever, Amazon Prime. So if this is really important to me, but I'm already satisfied, is this a niche for libraries to try to fill? Maybe not. Maybe not. And I think we can look at Netflix, we can look at their data and say that even families that don't have a lot of money are coming up with is it now $14 a month? The $12 or $14 a month that it takes to get access to that. Given that is a job that needs to be done, but the outcomes are already being met, and the customer is satisfied with the degree to which those outcomes are being met, that might not be a niche for libraries. I know, you can boo me off the stage at any point, I'm cool. All right. So we take that map. Now we've talked to our customers, we've written out the steps that they're trying to do in these jobs in the form of outcome statements, so things that are meaningful to them, things that have changed their perspective or their situation or their feelings. And we can now map those on a scale of importance and satisfaction. So on this one, this is importance going this way on this axis. Sorry, I'm leaning over my microphone. And this is satisfaction. So where's the niche, right? It's really important, but people aren't satisfied with the current way the job is getting done. They don't have a solution that is meeting their needs that they're happy with. So this is what we're looking for in library service. This is what product designers are looking for in getting something onto market. And now it gets really theoretical, and I'm going to start going faster, because this is where I kind of get it up to this point, and then I'm like, oh, how are we going to do this? So what's next? We have to be able to turn what we've just learned about these outcomes and jobs to be done into a value proposition And know where libraries are providing satisfaction in a way that we haven't been able to communicate before. So this is part of messaging, and that's what's next. Oops, actually, I've skipped a couple steps. Okay, so this is letting us know which outcomes are really more important to our customers or potential customers. Remember, potential customers, where that architecture firm was needing to go. It's kind of where we need to go in Sno-Isle libraries. Maybe it's where you need to go too. Our customer base is shrinking. Our population is increasing, but our number of customers is decreasing. We need to do some competitive analysis. So once we take that, I think we can take the survey. We know like where people are unsatisfied and what's important to them. Then we can map the products and services that we already have to that and go back to customers and say, hey, rate our services. You know, are you satisfied with these? Are you not, based on these needs that you have and jobs you're trying to do? Is this going to meet the outcomes that we checked with you earlier? And look at that. And that's going to give us the point to which we can ideate. So all of that before getting ideas, right? Oh, it seems really hard, doesn't it? It seems hard, but I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's important to put the resources at this front end and get a little bit further. We are getting more sophisticated with using our data. We are getting more sophisticated at defining community need. All of these things are actually happening in our industry. We haven't seen those huge shifts in use and engagement that we're wanting to see. I'm proposing that maybe if we try this, we could get a little bit further.
In fact, I would propose that this is the only thing we can do, because where ideas lead is for startups, because they have an idea and they find a market for it. We are a long-established organization, so we have the old idea, right? Now we have to make sure that we understand the market in a very in-depth way that we didn't have to previously.
Did you all hear that? Yeah. Yeah. I think I heard nods. So what Rebecca just said is it's time to be disruptive. It's time to disrupt ourselves. So we understand the needs, and now we ideate. Now we get ideas about what to do. And then we can use which outcomes are important to customers and currently unsatisfied, use that for our ideation, and use that to winnow and narrow the ideas that come in. We're only going to look at those ideas that are going to meet those unsatisfied needs. We start using messaging that aligns the existing products and services that we have and how they're going to meet those needs. Sometimes I think we're going to have them, we just haven't done a good job of doing that alignment. And then we're going to improve our existing products, right? Then we get to product development and service development. And it could be improving, and it could be just a whole new thing that we haven't even thought of yet. I get so stuck in thinking, how am I going to get into the households of families that don't use the library and can't get anywhere, right? Typically, there's a grandma in the house taking care of these kids while two parents are working. She's not going anywhere. She's just holding the fort down. How am I going to get there and get those kids read to and reading books so that when they enter school, they're ready to learn? In Washington State, we're at 40% kindergarten readiness in language and literacy. That's just across the board. That is shocking. I bet most of your states are somewhere in there too, depending on where the state average. Okay, we need to do something different. And then I talked about some of the free, I've got 5 minutes. We've got some of the free tools. This is a canvas for working through this. Again, you're not going to be able to use this without studying the theory a little bit, and there's certainly workshops. They can cost a lot of money, but I think there's enough information online in the books and resources that we can start thinking about this and testing out what works and what doesn't in libraries in the social sector. And that's where it ends. So what questions do you have? What ideas? What are you doing? Look at me, I just perched on the edge of this.
That's fine.
Anything? Yeah. I'm going to try to come to you.
I can speak louder.
Yay.
So let's talk a little bit about the barriers or maybe some of the conflicts that you experienced when you went into these YMCAs and especially the food banks. I'm thinking of what kind of resistance did you get from some of the people you were trying to talk to?
Right, so barriers and conflicts with talking to customers up front. Well, first of all, make sure you have a partnership with the organization that you're going to be addressing, because they're their customers, right? So we want to make sure we have a strong partnership. In our library area, we do have strong partnerships with the YMCAs, not so much with the food banks. Again, this was starting to be theoretical. We haven't done all of this work, but I did go to a food bank and I just observed, and I went to a YMCA and observed. I didn't start talking to people. I think that my target audience is going into those places. And I think I would suggest start with that observation and partnership building. Make sure you're in the right place.
So
want to add to that?
I didn't come up here to speak. I came up just to guide the questions. I will say that at Brampton Public Library, where I was for 3 years in charge of all the branches, we did go and talk with people. We, of course, had permission, but we're not talking with them about the library,
No, yeah.
right? We're talking with them about what they need to be doing on a daily basis, and what do they really want to be accomplishing. And because we did identify ourselves as being from the library, and then we don't want to talk about the library, if you listen to Lee Rainey this morning, the one thing that we all have, whether we're on a campus or a corporation or a government, is people trust us. They may not use us, but they trust us. And most people, you're never going to get 100%. Never. Don't even aim for it. Aim for 75 and you'll be happy. Most people would very openly talk with us. In fact, we had to be very careful. We trained staff very carefully in how to do this. They had, the corporate wear on, but also because people will get into really compassionate building conversations with you because you're from the library. They will start to tell you their whole life story, right? Even on a campus. Yeah. So,
Love it.
we need to look at, I respect your question very much, and we need to look at what we can do. Use a template that's green on one side and says we can do this and this and this and this, and then put the red stuff down we can't, and see what comes out, right?
I like it. There was another, yes.
I'm curious how you decided the target focus group that you wanted to focus on. So how did you, what were those discussions like with your leadership team?
Oh, yeah. How did we get to target audience, those 4 points? It was really research-based. We really said, looked at where are kids not ready for kindergarten, because the state goal is to increase kindergarten readiness, and then that's mirrored at the local level at the school districts. All of the school districts are struggling with this kindergarten readiness. And then we looked at the research, and the needle that we can move there, the kids who are really the lowest at being ready for kindergarten are these kids. And those are demographics that come from once they enter the schools. So we're getting that information. So these are families, and then we know 0 to 5 because they're not in the schools yet. Does that answer your question? Okay, lots of research. Yeah.
Can you just talk about the decision that you made based on this model? Because Netflix we shouldn't be in the market for Netflix because they're already dominating that. But can you talk about the decision that you made based on that?
She's asking, what decision have you made based on this? Can I come back in 2 to 3 years and answer that question?
So you're still really
Still in theory, yeah. Has anyone else used it?
There's a lady right there that had a question.
Mine was more a comment about the food banks.
Oh.
I'm from Halifax Public in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And we actually are partnering with local organizations mobile food market. They run a mobile food market out of a Metro Transit bus, and we got in on the ground floor of that. And I guess my point is we had no agenda. Our agenda isn't to figure out what's best for the library. Our agenda isn't to figure out who should we be targeting. It's to build community, and it's taken a lot of years, but now we wanted to find a new home for an ELL program outside the library, and my librarian said, we're going to call Pastor Keith. Pastor Keith, do you got room at Mosaic Church? Yes, you're done. And so it's a really long-term project.
Right.
and we are learning a lot about our community, but it wasn't something that we felt we could go in with a plan. We just needed to go in, and it's taken years. And I guess that's just my point. Go into it open to what you're going to hear.
Great.
Right.
Listening and observation.
Right, and I know that people have many more questions. I know Christa's very approachable, and she will be here, and I just want to show our great appreciation for you for sharing this.